And so today we're going to do the second version of Crazy Huggins. All right, so for the second way, we're going to start off the same way that we do with other tangles. We're going to put a dot in the corner, each corner, and then we're going to just connect them. Okay, now before we made a grid, right? But you don't have to do that all the time. Just keep in mind how I showed you on regular Huggins that basically what we need to pay attention to is just 4 circles at a time. That's all we need to pay attention to. And that helps with this and building Huggins, Crazy Huggins this way. So we just kind of like, right. Okay, there's 4. That's your first Huggins piece, right? And then you kind of go along like, well, maybe get one in here. And then a big one out here. And you're like, okay, well, let's see. I want to do these like this. And maybe you're like, oh, my Huggins is okay. It's not so crazy. You can make it as crazy and as funky kind of really as you want. I feel like this kind of helps that, oh, my Huggins is too uniform kind of problem. And then one over here, one over here. So you just need to kind of keep looking at sets of 4 circles. So put some Huggins here, there. And then this is one where you do have to be a little bit careful and think maybe before you draw, because just like we did with regular Huggins, you do want to go the opposite. You know, you never want to go the same. So since this line bows in and this one bows out, the next set of 4 circles is going to bow in like that. So when I feel like this way, it's easier to get a little bit like crazier with your Huggins. Since you're drawing the circles kind of as you go. So I'm just going to start. I think I'm going to add a little bit more. Here. And then I start to get lost a little bit. So I'm going to come do these. It's the same kind of shape that we saw in the previous Crazy Huggins and in the Huggins. Just going to connect those. And just take your time. It's very easy for your eyes to get confused at this point. So I'm going to close off these here inside for that. And then when you have a little bit of your Crazy Huggins completed a little, then you can start adding in more circles. Like like now that I see that the lines here bow in, I know that's what the next thing's going to be. And I know that I need another circle. So, and this may be too chaotic for you. Maybe you decide that you really want to just draw the grid first and not draw it as you go along. But I think this adds like a little bit of fun and mystery to it. Like you don't really know what you're going to end up with. So sometimes that's kind of cool. But I just go and kind of complete these as I go along to make sure that I have the 4 circles. So it's always, to me, about the 4 circles that we need. I'm going to put a couple more over here. Put a crazy one over here. And then this bows in, so I know these. Plus, another way to say is like, okay, so what is my next way? Do I put the circles in or do I put them out? You can tell that it goes on the outside because you're not going to want to go over this line. If you did, you would go over that line. That's another way to tell. Let's do a really wacky one there. So you can make the shapes any way you want. So that's the other way to do Crazy Huggins. So the first thing that we're going to do is aura the inside of the Huggins. So after we've done the aura, then what to do? Well, I think that some of these are pretty thin, but I don't want to put anything in it that's really rigid or with a lot of lines or whatever. And so it's just something that can kind of grow or shrink with whatever container we're putting it in. And I'm just going to do something that everybody kind of knows. I'm going to start with printemps right here. Put some tiny ones in there. Fill that up. Oh, there's space here too. So now what to do for the rest of them? Well, so this is pretty busy. So I'm just going to do something simple with the rest of them for the contrast, because I don't like to have everything without a lot of white space, and I don't like to have everything filled up with a pattern on the inside. But this looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to do some quick flicks on the inside. So they kind of shrink. So you do a tall one, a medium one, well, a little bit mediumer than, and a little one. They're just very light with the pen. They don't have to be perfect. And that's what I like about them. And to shade, I'm going to start off by, let's see, I'm going to shade these edges real quick. Check that out. I think that looks pretty cool. And as for these, they're kind of crowded as it is. So what if I do the opposite of what I did here and just go down the middle? It gives it a little of depth. But I don't want to color all these in. It looks a little busy and there's not a lot of contrast. So I think for this one, I'm going to get my 05 and I'm going to color in these little circles. Because it won't make a big deal out here, but in here, I think it'll add a little bit of contrast with these really shaded parts. And no, I like that. I think that really added to it. So now it's got a little bit more contrast. So, and that is super Crazy Huggins.